Hello, it's Dave here from Amplify. I'm talking to the mighty Newton Faulkner of
How
Newton
you doing?
Faulkner Enterprises. How are you, mate?
I'm very well indeed.
He's obviously not a bricklayer because you can see in the background there he's got guitars and Newton Faulkner posters, and that's not, normal for bricklayers. So he's a muso. If you haven't seen him before, and you're going to find out something about him. Newton, have you always wanted to be an artist? Did you always want to be an artist when you were younger, or did you go through different career changes to sort of get to this place?
Well, I was a child actor for a bit.
Really? On
Um,
what? On what?
yeah, but I was actually when I was about 9,
Yeah.
I did a string of Shakespeare things
Oh
with
my
the
God.
Royal Shakespeare Company in the theatre. And I don't know why my parents allowed me to do it because it must have been such a pain in the ass. So after school, they'd drive for like 2 hours
Oh my goodness.
to take me to go and do this thing. They dragged my little
And,
sister
and you
up, who
had to
went to the
remember the
cinema.
lines? You had to
I,
remember the
I,
lines? Or did you
I
did
actually
you
still
get
remember them now, but I only had
oh my God.
three, so it wasn't hard. I did a lot of, I tended to, when I was in Richard the Third, and I died at the beginning of the second act, so I could go home and be bed by 11. Um, I did like a few bits. I
Is
was in
this the
like a kind
same
of
as
advert,
music?
so
You die in the first set and you,
very,
you, you go home before the second.
that's very similar. Oh, and then, yeah, so I did that for a bit, but then I mean, I never chose between anything and music. I think once I got into it, I was so like 1,000% in, and I
And,
was
and
never gonna blink and do anything else.
how old?
Um,
How old were you?
I was probably about 14, I think, is when
Really?
when it
Goodness. So it was
really
early.
clicked. Yeah, I think I'd played like a little bit, and I'd had piano lessons, and I'd done like bits and bobs, like drums, and kind of goofed around. But then it was when I sat in like a local guitar shop and I played. It was the first like steel string acoustic I'd ever played,
Mm,
and I was like, "Oh,
here
this
we
is
go.
fun. This is
Here we
like a
go.
kind of home for everything I've learned on every other instrument." Because I played bass in a few bands, and I'd got like slightly into like slap and the kind of that kind of end of bass playing, and then I'd played, obviously, as I said, played keys and stuff. So there was the kind of harmonic aspect to that, and I played drums, which is the percussive stuff, and then bringing that all onto like acoustic steel string just felt like a kind of natural home for all the aspects of everything else that I enjoyed. And then I really like I went all out. I remember I talked my parents into letting me go to music college. So I was going to the ACM in Guildford, and I went to an open day like the year before I went. And everyone was like, "Oh, cool. What guitar have you got?" And I was like, "I have this guitar." And I was like, "Oh, how long have you been playing?" And I was not the first person to answer. And it was kind of going around. It was like, "Oh, I've been playing about like I've only been playing 10 years. I've only been playing 15 years." And I was like, I'd literally been playing a year and a half. So I was like, "A year and a half." Um, and I just totally panicked. And then the whole next year, I did not have a guitar attached to me. I had it was on a stand next to my bed. I'd wake up, I'd put the guitar on. If I was making a cup of tea, I'd be doing it while doing like hammer-on exercises, like I really
So,
like dug in. Um,
so when did you start your own stuff, sort of thing? Like you said you were in bands and stuff. When did you start doing Newton Faulkner?
well, I think there's aspects of some of the bands I was in near the kind of just kind of literally kind of just before that stage where I'd been started kind of writing songs, and there's bits of those songs that became bits of the first album. Nothing in its entirety, but kind of sections. In fact, Dream Catch Me, bits of that were from one of my earlier bands. Um, and then I guess it would have been kind of while I was at ACM that it really kind of clicked together because Eric Roach was head of guitar, had a massive influence on my playing, but kind of on my, not just my playing, but my entire attitude to music. I think it is very much kind of following in kind of his thought process.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And then it
Favorite,
was hmm?
just digressing. Favorite guitar. What's the
Favorite
one?
guitar.
What's the one that you picked up or that you've had that you sort of say, this is my go-to? I used to sell guitars, so I'm just interested.
Well, a lot of my guitars were made for me, and they were kind of made for me and with me.
Wow, that's
So
good.
it was this kind of symbiotic process of what do you want? Well, I love this about this, but is there any way it could go even lower? And could it do this? And could it take more of a beating because this one's fallen off?
I think, I
Um,
think, I think I was going to say, I think the Eagles did the same thing at one stage, but I think they made it out of, they found this boat that had been, submerged for 500 years or something or other in the
oh
water that they
wow,
pulled up, and they took some wood off it, and they all made a guitar, and I think it cost them about, 100,000 or 500,000 or something or other each to make
wow.
one of these guitars or something or other, and they had
Well,
these
actually,
guitars made so they
a
can
lot
make
of
it.
guitars are being made out of what do they call it? Bogwood
Yeah.
is like a new trend. I mean, I guess the kind of traditional guitar hardwoods are going to get harder and harder to find and less.
Yes, of course, of
Um,
course. Okay,
like if you look at like yeah,
sorry, man, I'm just racing through because I'm aware that I've got a lot of questions to get through. How would you
of course.
describe your sound?
Oh, I mean this album pulls in so many different directions at the same time. For me, I guess it stems from like a real love of music and love of loads of different types of music and no real rules. The only rule is that it has to be interesting
So
to
how would you
me
describe
now.
it? How would you describe the sound? If someone was sort of saying, I like this type of music, I wonder if it's this type of music, what would you say,
I really don't know anymore, and I know I should be able to answer that. Um, I mean, obviously, when people think of me, they always think of that kind of acoustic, super kind of sunshiny acoustic vibe, which I loved doing, and there's always a place for in the world. But I don't think that's what this album is. I think this album is a different beast, and I think it's a lot more. It's definitely a lot more sonically aggressive um, than
and
anything I've done before.
how does it change from, how has it morphed a lot since you started, or is it
Oh,
much,
completely.
yeah, yeah.
I
Has
think for me,
technology changed it a lot?
I think my love of technology is what's changed it more than the technology itself. I think for me, the first record, I was sitting behind the guy making it, being like, what does that button do? Why'd you do that? What did you do then? That's interesting. Second album, even more so, because it was just me and Mike
Oh,
Spencer, who's a legendary producer. And it was just me and him in a tiny room for months. And I was kind of watching. Then the third record was the first record that I produced a track on that went actually went out and people like as well. And that was, and then the fourth record, I was thrown completely under the bus, really, and told to produce an entire record, which I was not ready to do by any stretch of the imagination. Um, but by being thrown in the deep end, I learned loads. And then I kept kind of, I think it was around COVID, I was really like done with working on my own. I was like, right, I want to work with everyone. Get me in with this guy, in with this guy, in with this guy. And then like the next day, it was like, the entire world is closed. You can't do any of the things you want to do. So what are you going to do? It's like, oh, I'll make an album completely on my own again, but it just won't sound like it, which is how we ended up with stuff like kind of Four Leaf Clover and these really kind of wide sounding tracks. Which I loved making. It was so much fun. And obviously, I got Troy Miller to play drums. He's one of the greatest drummers in the entire world. And he sent me drums from like during lockdown as well and stuff. And then off the back of the amount of time I had to do the research I needed to do to get to the point that I probably should have been before I produced my first record, really. Then I was actually at a point where I was like, okay, things are starting to click. And then with this record, it wasn't working out just how to do stuff. It was like, okay, what is the most interesting way of doing this? How can I, for lack of a better expression, like what is the best way of really fucking this up in a way that's really exciting to listen to and fun? And I think vocally, I'd never really played with vocals because there were people on the team that would constantly whisper in my ear, like, don't mess with the vocal. That's what people like your vocal. Don't make it weird. And then there's vocals on this album that literally have like 26 plugins in. And it was just like they're so compressed, distorted, saturated, like really like squidged from every available angle. And to me, it sounds so kind of exciting and fresh because it's a place I've never been before.
Influences. Well, who are the influences over time?
It's kind of split into strains because obviously I mentioned Eric Roach earlier, who was a massive influence on my playing, along with Thomas Lieb and Nick Harper and kind of Tommy Emmanuel and all of these kind of experimental acoustic players, which is kind of one strain. Then you've got like the songwriting strain, which has people like kind of, I mean, further back, kind of John Martin, Joni Mitchell, Crosby, Neil Young on his own. Further forwards, people like kind of John Grant and Randy Newman and kind of Tom Waits and the kind of like all the heavyweight writers. And then production-wise, it's like a totally other wing of influences from there. Kind of. I listened to. While I was doing the washing up this morning, I was watching an interview with the guy that mixed Nirvana Nevermind and System of a Down. Is it Jack Wallace? That doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound right in my brain. But that was fascinating. I was like totally into that because he's like basically produced all the heaviest records ever made and seems like such a sweetheart as well. It was amazing. So I'm kind of constantly doing anything that kind of pricks my ear up. I love Sean Wasabi, who's doing like totally insane production work, all kind of Tenorian based production things, and like kind of Major Lazer I find fascinating for drums. Santa Gold for drums, again, fascinating from a kind of programming level.
Octopus, 8th album, coming out next month. What's it all about? What's it all about?
It's new ground for me, and I don't say that lightly. One of the reasons I don't say it lightly is because ages ago I was on tour with a band that I'm not going to name because it doesn't make them sound very good. But they'd done a record, they were releasing their next record, and they'd made an EPK with their label, and it was like 15 minutes of them explaining how like exciting and different the music was. And I was watching it thinking, how different is this? I'm quite excited. I want to see what this is. Like, this is fascinating. And then at the end, they played the track, and the track was, I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. It was the same chords at the same tempo with the same instruments, the same production. I was like, this is literally, I mean, you've moved some notes around in the melody, but this is.
They lied.
Kind of objectively the same. So I'm so cautious now of ever saying that anything's different. The only reason I feel comfortable saying that now is that enough people have heard it and been like, is this you? This is really like quite far away from anything you've done before. And I think for me, this album was about not retracing any steps that I've taken before, not retracing almost specifically any steps that have done really well, because it's just such a dead end if you chase your own tail your whole life. So everything is pulling in lots of different directions, pulling on loads of influences that I have never really tipped my cap to before. So the opening track is heavily influenced by kind of early punk, kind of, there's like a Jilted Johnness to it, if you remember that record. Amazing record. And like a bit of Pistols and a bit of kind of that era. There's another kind of strain of, I guess, kind of Jay Dilla influenced, kind of D'Angelo hip hop, kind of R&B thing thread running through it as well. Um, there's some huge synth parts, some really like aggressive,
What
like synth bass and stuff from everywhere else.
the signature tracks and your favorites?
Um, well, what took you so long that I think has just come out is definitely that for me was the benchmark that everything else had to meet. Because to me, that sounded just really exciting. And vocally, like production wise, it was a sound I'd never heard before. I'd never experimented before. It was retuned, but not retuned to sound kind of perfect. It wasn't that kind of auto-tune, but it was kind of throwing my voice up octaves and down octaves and like really messing with it. And I think where it landed as a kind of whole piece, it's just like it's totally nuts. And it does like the exit from the chorus to the second verse is almost like a full U-turn. You just kind of turn around and go back to, and I remember as we were making it, I was like, does this work? Does it work? And then we both had to go away and we kind of stepped away from it, me and Abs, the other writer and producer. And then when we came back, we're like, do you know what? This really works. Like this, sometimes you step away from stuff and you come back and it makes no sense at all. And sometimes you are massively pleasantly surprised, which is what happened with this track. I mean, that for me, Spirit Meets the Bone is another one that I loved making. I loved producing. That has Reuben James playing piano on it. He's an amazing player. Honest to God, in a kind of, again like a totally different end of the spectrum. To me, it kind of had that vibe of a hidden track when hidden tracks were kind of in. So like the golden age of CDs. Like Green Day, Dookie had All By Myself hidden on the end. And then I think every album seemed to have one that for like a certain period of time. And I kind of wanted to create that kind of almost, kind of small, secretive thing. But then it grew out into being something much bigger.
Well,
Oh, and also got to work with Los Birchos, which was amazing.
Of course. Tours and events, what's coming up?
I am over. Hang on, let me get dates up. I had them, but then my screen went weird. Oh, it's gone. Oh, there it is. So I fly out. I'm there on Friday the 10th. And that's my first gig. That's in Sydney. And then I'm there till the 26th, doing gigs most days. And I'm in Sydney, Wollongong, Newcastle, Geelong, Castlemaine, Melbourne, Perth, Adelaide, Byron Bay, Brisbane, and then the Gold Coast at the very end. So it's quite, I think it's the most extensive. Yeah.
East Coast, but a lot of regionals.
Yeah.
No, that'll be good. That'll be good. What are you looking forward to most?
Just meeting people. I mean, the way the album's been received over there feels really, I think here there was a degree of, hang on, you're doing what now? Whereas the response, especially talking to journalists over there, has been really, people seem to really like it in a way that it's been quite kind of.
Everywhere's different, and I think we've got a pretty good reputation for being music lovers and getting into stuff. America's different, Europe's different, South America's different. So your experience is always different going everywhere. So I'm sure that they'll love you when you're coming over. If you could perform with any music artist, alive or dead, who would you choose, and why?
It's really tricky because
if you chose someone that's dead, they'd be alive when they were performing with you. By the way, you wouldn't be sitting on stage with someone in the coffin. Wouldn't that be interesting?
That would be. It would be interesting.
Here's Elvis. Here's Elvis and he's mummified beside you.
I don't know. I spend so much time making. I mean, music is such like a kind of community project, but I do spend a lot of time working on my own, and especially live. I've been solo for ages. I mean, I'd love to do a track with Los Bichos, the kind of full band because I worked with Sarah. I've known Nicola the drummer forever, and that would be so fun.
Mm.
And I would love to do that. Um, I don't think how else. I spend so much, I guess, because the style of live performance that I do is almost the same kind of principles as beatboxing. I'm basically trying to make as much noise as humanly possible on my own. So, oh, actually, if I could add anything, I'd just add 3 BVs. Maybe I'd take like a classic 3 vocalist. I'm torn between Destiny's Child and the Supremes.
Oh, I tell you what, if you could get,
Can we have 6?
if you could get Destiny, if you could get Destiny behind you, man, I think I don't think you'd sing. I think you'd just turn around and look at them.
just start to be like, that's amazing. You keep doing that. I'll do this. You
Yeah,
stay there. It's
exactly.
fantastic.
I'm just going to grab a seat on the side of the stage here, and we'll put my album in the background. You know, I'll just turn it on here, techno, and the music can be playing, but you guys just dance.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I'm performing at the moment is I built a pair of MIDI shoes, because for me this record should not be performed sitting down. It's not that kind of record, so I needed that kind of level of physical energy. But building the MIDI shoes has been, I mean, on one hand, it has been the most fun I've ever had, especially like performance-wise. But it is also, they are so badly behaved, because I'm not a man that builds things. That is literally the second thing I've built. I built a wooden squirrel when I was 9 in woodwork at school.
Right.
And
you're
then
talking to someone
30 years later.
You're talking to someone, I'm 68 next month, and you're talking to someone who buys a $5 latch for a door, you know, one of those snibs, so that you've got to put one side on one side and a little snib on the other side. And by the time I'm finished, you've got to replace the door. So when you say I'm not good at making something, you know, I've got 18 holes. They don't line up. I make another 2 holes. They don't line up. I make another 2. Oops, I've chipped the door. I've got to replace that. By the time I've finished, it's a major job. So I don't make things either.
Oh.
Long-term aspirations, Newton. Do you still have some?
Right, I've got loads. I mean, what I've been doing for the last few months has been not working on my own stuff, but working on a lot of other people's. So I've been doing production work and kind of writing work, but for loads of different people. Everything from kind of Chinese pop to K-pop to really kind of intricate, beautiful, folky stuff, to quite experimental, quite electronic Norwegian stuff that I'm loving. And I think I'm going to do a whole album of that, which is really fun. Just kind of fascinating writing.
You sound like you're 12, Newton. You sound like you're 12, and you're having a play. And
no, I don't. You smell.
You're deciding every minute what you get. It's very conscious, because you're sort of moving through, and you're in each moment as you're working through. Even in these answers, you're in each moment as you're working through, and you know, authentically, organically trying to provide what you feel in that moment as the response. And I think it's very cool. I think it's very cool, and I think if I was giving advice to musicians, I'd say that's what you're really trying to sell. You're not trying to sell. Your music's going to come out if you allow yourself, if you allow your skills to come through. If you think too much about trying to provide an outcome, people are going to drop off, because it's going to be, you know, too. Anyhow, it's not going to be. I don't think it might be rewarding in one sense, because people probably do that and do get an outcome, but I don't think it's rewarding to you. I think the only thing is rewarding to you is if you're doing your stuff.
I think to a degree I've done that in the past. I've definitely kind of second guessed, especially like second, third album time. That's because the first album did so well.
Yeah.
So much better than anyone anticipated, especially me.
Yeah.
And then there was kind of a degree of a bit of chasing my tail, I think was natural, probably quite sensible to a degree, but I think
Yeah.
there's only so long you can kind of do that
I
for us
think,
all.
but I think that's conscious. I think, what you're talking about is life. And in
Hmm.
life, traditionally, we go through, I'm there. And then 10 years later, you look back and you say, gee, how could I think I was there? Now I'm there. And then 10 years later, you look back and you think, how could I think I was there? Now I'm there. Until you get to a stage later on where you're just detached from all of it and say, there is no there. What am I even trying to bloody get there for? And so I think your music sounds like it's the same sort of thing. You start somewhere,
Yeah,
especially sometimes having a big success can be a terrible thing because it sets you up for a sort of expectation for everything else that comes afterwards. And I know people have had that and they've bloody been disappointed. You've got to be sturdy. You've got to be sturdy. And,
yeah, I think.
music career is a tough career.
Oh, it's definitely not. It's not for the faint of heart or
No,
the easily offended.
no.
Um, I think for the analogy I've always used is that when I was 21, 22, I got into the right room. Like I was in the room that I wanted to be in,
Yeah,
but I had come through the wrong door. And I think I've spent years, decades even, shuffling across the floor,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
doing a
that's life.
strange little foot
That is
dance to be
life.
like, this is where I want to be. And I do think with this record, for the time period and for who I am as a person and as an artist and what I'm like the thing about this album that sorry, what will tickle. The thing about the album that has made me happiest, and it's something that I didn't even realize has frustrated me in the past, is when friends have listened to it, and when musicians listen to stuff, I think everyone does the same thing. They rattle off immediately a bunch of names. They're like, oh, it's a bit this, bit this, bit that, done. Now, in the past, these lists of names have sometimes rubbed me up the wrong way because I was aiming for a
Something
spot
different.
that I think I must have missed or had been watered down too much to even be evident by the time it was out. And with this album, when I first started playing people for things, every artist, every band, anything that was mentioned was something that I absolutely loved.
Good.
And there was never anything else, like nothing else got a look in. It wasn't, everything mentioned just made me so happy.
Good.
Which is, I think it's feels like the kind of truest representation of what actually really musically excites me to listen to that I've achieved so far.
Good. 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 In my view, there's a moment, there's collaboration with it. Everything else is a thought. So basically, you've got to bring yourself back to just collaborating with what's here, because that's all that's here. Where you're sitting, what you're doing, what you're touching,
Yeah.
what you're feeling in your body. And I think that, music's a great field for that because it's like
Mm.
performance has to almost be in the moment. If you're doing anything else but in the
Yeah.
moment, no one's going to get it because, they're just not going to feel it.
No
So,
point. Yeah.
okay, here we go. Some quick fire questions to end. You
Oh,
ready?
right.
What's the craziest thing you've ever done that you can talk about? Maybe you've killed someone. That's probably pretty crazy.
uh, I haven't killed anyone. What's the craziest thing I've done?
Oh, it's a hoot. You should try it.
I mean, I played the other stage at Glastonbury, and I did the last song in my pants because someone said, get your kit off, and I went, all right.
You did the last song
So that
in
was
your what?
just in my underwear, just in my
Ah.
pants.
As you do at
Which,
Glastonbury. I mean, of course.
yeah,
It's
it felt right at the time.
yeah, just
Um,
the,
and it's so much of life is so nuts. I mean, especially at kind of that time period when things really kicked off. Like just every day was
Yeah,
totally insane.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'd be
yeah,
on kind of Jay Leno one day and then be in
yeah,
like live on Japanese television, not
yeah,
knowing what is going on.
yeah, yeah.
In fact,
Ego's not easy to bloody manage when you're young, especially. It's a
well,
difficult.
I had really serious conversation with myself where I looked around at everything that was happening. And I remember I was in a hotel, I was quite hungover, and I was staring myself in the eyes, my blurry eyes, being like, right, we need to talk about this because there's a lot going on. And as far as I can tell, probably 80 to maybe 96% of what's going on is complete bullshit.
Yeah,
So
well,
let's work out
that's
what we want to focus on. And this conversation was quite long. And what I ended up deciding, which I really stuck to actually, bizarrely, was what I love is the work. Like I love the
yeah,
work.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
love
Makes
the
sense.
challenge of doing the work well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
let's keep my head down and just
I,
get as
I,
good as I can get.
yeah, I think all thoughts are illusory. So basically, it's just about turning up. It's a bit the Taoists say, let life take you where
Yeah.
it takes you. So just let it
Yeah.
take you somewhere and just don't worry about it. What's the one topic you can talk about for hours? Everything. Now, what's the one topic you can
Ev-
talk about for hours?
oh, it's all the M's. It's kind of it's between music and that's funny you should mention Taoism because yeah, I'm really deep in kind of Buddhist Taoist meditation
Me
land and
too.
have been for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's the
Um,
most important thing a person can do, meditate. You couldn't do anything more important. Once you understand
yeah,
it, you're making connection to source, I think, in my view.
yeah.
What's the thing you like most about yourself? Although I think you'd give any subject a crack from a conversation point of view, because it sounds like, but I
I
think that
do. I
that's
like a
relevant.
chat.
What's the thing you like most about
uh,
yourself?
increasingly, there's a calmness which I'm really
Which is good.
appreciating
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
company, if
I
there's
would
nothing
say
else.
also there's a perennial optimism. Well, it sounds like in your
Hmm.
voice, you're always sort of moving forward, which is perfect. You don't have much time to look back. You're sort of saying, well, what's next and what I'd like to do and where I'm going to have fun,
Yeah.
etc. All right, here we go. Your favourites,
That's it. Yeah, as you said.
all time or current favourite album. People hate these.
They're tough. Do you know what? I listened to all of Green Day Dookie today,
Oh,
and I
what a
listened to all of System of a Down Toxicity today.
ah ah ah.
I could caveat this with another story, but I won't. And I listened to all of Nirvana Nevermind.
It sure as hell beats the pants off YouTube Shorts.
Definitely. Um, I must say, I mean, Green Day Dookie for me was
Sensational.
like the first album that really kind of got me, and it got me at that age that you never forget being got.
No, no, no. Of course.
Um,
Yeah, what a band. A favorite artist.
I mean, probably Joni Mitchell, really, like a person, someone that I can just always listen
Legend.
to
Legend.
in any mood, and it just like, oh, this is like it's. I think I can switch into a very analytical state, and with her,
I have a similar
I
feeling
just
for I
just
have a
let go.
similar feeling for Linda Ronstadt. Same
Oh,
same
nice,
sort of
yeah,
period. They worked
yeah,
together, and she was so influential in so many people's lives, like the Eagles and all that sort of stuff. And she
yeah.
did breakthrough albums in Latin and all this sort of stuff. She was such a magical performer.
Oh,
So for
actually, you might know
Joni,
the answer to this. I've been trying to remember the name of someone. There was someone else around the same time period who was she was a classical pianist first, and she did stuff that sounded a bit like Joni Mitchell, but would then go like really like fuguey, full bark classical. And
We'll find we'll
someone played
find
me
out.
to her years and years ago, and I cannot remember her name. It's been really bugging me.
We'll find out. We'll find out. I'll do some
Yeah,
research.
she
Favorite
was
favorite
amazing.
favorite movie?
Oh, you know what? The way back that no one ever talks about. It's Steve Carell being a total dick, and Sam Rockwell being a genius. And everyone is like everyone in it is amazing. Such a good cast. And I can't remember what's the names. It's the girl from Whoa, it's the girl from Muriel's Wedding,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and um, it's like everyone in it's great. Like
I'm gonna have to.
there's like classic SNL, but it's just one of those films that I put it on late at night. I didn't really know what it was, and then at 2 o'clock in the morning, I was sitting there in tears, being like, "That is one of the best films I've ever seen."
How long ago?
The way back probably came out. It's 2000s, I think. I don't think it's
And,
that old.
and what was it? What was the movie called?
The way back.
The Way Back. I'm just trying to find it here so
Steve
that I can.
Carell, Sam Rockwell, girl from Earl's Wedding. I can't remember. The press secretary from The West Wing is in it, and she's amazing as well.
Well, I'm gonna have to
Um,
find. I can't find it here, but I'm gonna have to find that.
Maya Rudolph is in it as well. I totally forgot. Yeah, she's incredible in it. It's a really, really good film. It's really like
You know who Maya
heartbreaking.
Rudolph's mother is?
No,
You don't.
not off the top of my head. No.
This will blow your mind, seriously. I heard it the other day. They had a um they had a sorry man, I'm getting the questions
Right?
back. They had a Stevie Wonder, he turned something or other 3 or 4 years ago and they had a big
Yeah.
everyone was there, a big thing and she presented it and or she was the host sort of
Yeah.
thing. And they had everybody, they had Beyonce and everybody performed. It was just unbelievable. Big,
Yeah.
big night, and everyone was in
Yeah.
the audience. Her mum was Minnie Riperton.
Oh my God, no way.
Does that blow your mind or what?
That totally blows my mind. Minnie Riperton
Minnie
was like
Riperton, and she died. Minnie Riperton
insane.
died when she was about 35 or something or other. So Maya would have been about, you know, young, very, very young. And
Yeah.
Stevie obviously used to come over all the time because he was friends
Yeah.
with Minnie, and that's how
Yeah.
Maya sort of knew Stevie so well.
Wow.
But I
That's
thought when
cool.
I thought that I thought to myself, like you think about Minnie and the song was just unbelievable. It's a moment in your
Yeah.
life sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then Maya Rudolph being so big and doing so much stuff and putting the two together was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Favorite place,
Actually, my favorite. Oh, sorry.
favorite place to visit. We're going to finish in 2 seconds. Favorite place to visit.
And Australia's right up there. I love it. I've had such a
Well,
good time.
you're coming on tour, so that's a straightforward thing to say, isn't it?
It is.
Obviously,
Well, no, but I genuinely mean it, and it's not.
no, it is.
I
It's a good
wouldn't.
place. You
It's
wouldn't go
so
to you
fun.
wouldn't go to America. You're touring in America anytime soon?
No, not anytime soon. I'm
You can't go there.
keeping it as arm's length for the moment.
You can't go there. You can't go there. It's just nuts. Favorite venue to play?
Ooh. I mean, there's a theatre in Dublin that I absolutely love. It's called the Olympia. I've done it many, many times, and it's such a good venue, and it's always such a good crowd. Um, Manchester Apollo is another one that I absolutely love.
Yeah,
It's just like the perfect size. There's a real sweet spot with like there's like that kind of big but not arena big
yeah, yeah,
but not tiny. That's kind of six, seven
yeah,
thousand
yeah,
is like such a,
yeah,
you can make it feel so intimate, but there's enough
yeah,
people to really like kick off.
yeah, yeah. Favorite food?
My first thought was banoffee pie, which is really quite random, but I do love it genuinely.
Not
It's not
not
something
good
I've
for you.
had recently. It's
Not
not a
good.
health food, no.
No, no.
Um,
But
another bit of my brain went, you should probably say ramen because you're really into that at the moment. And ramen
uh,
is great and pho's great.
yeah,
Especially if I'm touring, pho is like the best pre-gig food because it's so easily kind of digestible and kind
you
of
know, I almost say
easily.
In my Buddhist sort of stage, I almost like to say food that's nearly off. Because I really like getting the last bit of the veggies or the last bit of
There is
milk
something
or
satisfying about that. I like that.
because it's like grounded is about doing something that's sort of natural, and the natural people
Yeah,
never had fridges and all that sort of stuff, and they
yeah,
must have lived
totally.
pretty close to the earth. That's my thought anyway. Favorite drink?
I do have a whiskey on the go, so I feel inclined
What
to lean
brand?
that way.
What brand?
What's this? This is Aaron that was on. It was basically on discount the other day, but it's actually really nice.
No, I think a good whiskey is fine. Favorite person in history, apart from me.
Apart from you, oh, that's hard. I was definitely going to say you. Today is my son's 15th birthday,
God bless.
and he is
Worst age in the world, mind you.
he is
Don't tell me he's a good
just
kid.
he's the coolest person in the
Oh my
world.
God, come on.
And I get like every time, like he's so cool, and I like really struggle with it. I'm like,
Did
when
he,
I
did
think
he,
back to myself at that age, I was
me
a
too.
total mess.
I ran
But
away
he
from
is,
home. I ran away from
yeah,
home when I was 14, caught two planes under an assumed name, went to a,
wow.
went to a country place about 1,000 miles from my place and got a job in the abattoirs when I was
Oh
14.
my,
So,
wow.
so, so when I think about that stage, although we
Yeah,
were in the corporal punishment era, so when we
yeah,
think about that sort of past, we had a
yeah,
struggle at school and all that because everyone was
yeah, of
beating us
course.
for bloody correction. So I'm really happy that he's cool, but I hope that he goes through. I mean, the desert is a place that everyone has to go through, and the earlier you
True.
go through it, the better off you are. So I hope that you allow
Yeah.
him to make as many mistakes as he can make because now's the time
I
to
think
make them.
I think he's might have, I think he did really early desert.
Good.
I think he did super early desert and is kind of over it now and is like, oh, everything's fine. We don't need to panic about
Good,
this. It's
good.
cool.
Well done, well done. We'll have a big life. And last question: are you a clean skin or have you got a tattoo?
Oh no, I've got nothing. No tattoos, no
Clean skin,
piercings. Like I've got nothing. Freckles and no hair.
and no intention to change that at any stage.
No, occasionally I get slightly tempted, but it never lasts very long. I'm like, oh, I can do this, and then I'm like, no, I don't want to.
I think the point, from my perspective, and we'll end here, but from my
Hmm.
perspective, consciousness is like we're all part of this quantum experience. So,
Hmm.
you're no different to me. I can think about your story and say, I wish or compare or something, but really at the end of the day, we're just two people in this pot and we're going about. And
Yeah,
so whatever you do is fine. Whatever sexual proclivity you have is fine, so long as it's not, nasty or illegal.
yeah, of
And if
course.
you stick stuff all over your body, fine. And if you don't, fine.
Yeah,
Just the most important thing is love.
always.
People, what you do, yourself, everything. And then if you do
Yeah,
that, you're going to have a pretty vibrationally good experience.
yeah.
That's why meditation's so cool because basically it prepares you. If you do
Hmm.
it every morning, especially, I suggest to people they do it every morning. If you do it every morning, it sets you up for the day. It's like,
I'm up to 3 times a day these days.
really.
I'm
How,
up
how
at
long? How
five
long? How long do you go for?
20, so I can
Yeah.
get enough out of
What?
20 to keep me ticking up. But I'm up at 5 o'clock every morning.
That's
I mean,
that's.
I'm in the studio. I'm in the studio 5 o'clock every morning.
I think it's.
I've
I think it's
Yeah.
essential because basically, if you understand meditation, in my view, if you understand
Hmm.
meditation, it starts off as a place where you're thinking about thought and trying to restrict and all this sort of stuff.
Hmm.
But after you've been doing it for years and all that, you understand that it's really probably the most joyous place you experience ever because you sit there and you just understand. And every thought you have, there's no, you think a lot because meditation isn't non-thought, but it's sort
Mm.
of source thought. So it's all
Yeah, and there's a
productive thought.
distance
It's
to it.
not, it's not a negative thing or a challenging
Mm.
thing or anything like that, because you're just there and you just go to that spot. And
Mm.
I think it's really important because in today's world, your thoughts will come and go, but your body
Yeah,
doesn't collaborate because your body's calm because of the meditation. So it's just a thought.
yeah,
Whereas in most people's lives that are just doing people rather than being people, they have a
mm.
thought and their body connects up and their blood pressure goes up and their
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
stresses change, and it starts to become a more pervasive sort of process. Sorry, man.
Mm.
I
No,
just
that's
had
fine.
to.
We could talk about that all day.
Newton Faulkner's the star, and I'm just a crummy old interviewer here. But I make sure that I have something to say. But I do it at the end so that someone can just cut out, once they realise it's
Sack
just
it off.
it's me, just cut it off.
Actually, have you read? There's a book called Neurodharma that really like that switched my kind of trajectory. I think I was doing kind of guided meditations before that, but then
Nah,
so Neurodharma. It's an American guy. It's written by Rick Hanson, whose background
I'll
is
I'll read it.
in I think it's in kind of neuroscience, really. And then he got into meditation later. But then that kind of marriage between those two. So it really talks about the science, like what happens in terms of like brain activity when you're doing it. And that totally changed it for me.
This,
Really
this,
intensified it.
Dispenza writes books about creating your own sort of reality. He's a big
Mm,
believer in the fact that you create what happens.
yeah,
You don't just wait for it to happen. You actually create what happens.
yeah.
And obviously Tolley with his books, Eckhart, he's a star. And there's a great book called The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff, which
Yeah.
is he takes the Pooh characters and he puts it into Taoism, and it's a
Taoism is
fantastic.
really fun. I was reading through all what's the name of that kind of, is it Zhang, the kind of godfather of Taoism. I was reading
Yes,
endless quotes of him the other day, and he's so funny.
it's
It was amazing.
it is
But
it
it's
is.
totally how I think. I was really like, oh, I'm not
I
that.
did. I was a pawnbroker for 20 years, and I finished doing pawnbroking.
Hmm,
And as soon as I finished, and I was a pretty egoic sort of character, a bit gangstered up, all that sort of stuff. I did
hmm.
10 days of silent meditation with the Buddhists up in the Blue Mountains.
Oh
And so
wow.
a thing called Vipassana, and it was like meditating 16 hours a day and trying to set yourself up on cushions and against the wall, and then you had
Wow.
like 3 1 hour periods every day of strong determination where you couldn't move or touch or scratch or do anything. It was madness, but it was just the best thing. And every night at 7 o'clock, they had a video, like you're in the meditation hall, and they put on a video for about probably half an hour, three-quarters of an hour, of the
Hmm.
guru from India, who would have been probably 80, 75, 80.
Yeah.
And it was the most entertaining, funny, spiritual talk. Every night was better than the night before. And this guy
Wow.
was absolutely, he was just like, sitting there in the whole garb and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But what he would say and the way he would say it was so entertaining. It was just unbelievable. So that was
Oh,
my introduction to meditation.
that
And
that is quite an intense, like, and that is the deep end, I would say.
that's the deep end. But it's basically, I keep on saying to someone, and we will finish, man, because I've taken way too long. I keep
Oh,
on
sorry,
saying,
everyone's asleep.
I keep on saying to people, if someone said to me, if someone came from, well-to-do and they were lost and all this sort of stuff, I'd say, go to the park and live there for a month. And they'd say, what do you mean live there for a month? Just don't leave. Just, go to the park and stay in the park for a month, night, day, whatever. And they'd say, well, how will I eat? Work it out. How will I sleep? What about security, etc.? And I'd say at the end of that month, you probably won't go back to your house. You'll probably decide to go off and do something completely different and find, because basically you've got to find you. Once you
Hmm.
find you, everything changes. And so most people don't have enough time to find themselves because they're too busy doing work and too busy conforming, and they've
Yeah.
got family and all this sort of stuff. And so
Also,
if
every
you,
moment you get to think you've got like this tiny little entertainment block in your hand that just constantly
well,
fires things.
we've gone from the town hall where we used to sit with the mayor, to the lounge room where TV came in and took us out of the town hall. Now we're in the
Yeah.
bedroom, so we don't even talk to anyone. We don't even see anyone.
No,
That's a
it's
different
way too easy
discussion.
these days. Yeah,
You,
it's a long one.
we need to. I'm gonna try and create a revolution at some stage in my old age, because we need to change the world. The world's in a crazy place.
Yeah,
It's
it really
too
is.
too much doing and not enough being. But anyhow, the doers pay for your record, so we need them to still exist. So
We need them to do the things to pay
good on
for
you, man.
my things.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Lovely
I'm
talking to you, man.
sorry if I took too much of it.
No, no, it's fine.
Um, I'll whack this up. We'll see who gets it. I'll send you a link and all that sort of stuff when we get it sorted, and I'll talk to the publicist here about what we do. Good on you,
Magic.
man, and
Thank you very much
have
indeed.
a great tour. Hope the
Will
album
do.
goes gangbusters. Everyone go out and pick up Octopus, and if you're in Australia on the East Coast, keep an eye out for Newton. He's coming.
I'll be kicking around.
Good on you, man. All the best. Take care.
Thank you.